Well, I guess we're ready. So from the campus of the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama, this is Sports Talk. And I'm Dr. Arthur Ogden. I serve as moderator for these weekly broadcasts in which the faculty and staff discuss important issues in sport. This is going to be the last production and the last broadcast for 2014. And the panel today, on my extreme right, it is Dr. Steve Butler, Dean of Academic Affairs. On my left is Dr. Fred Cromartie, Director of Doctoral Studies. And in the middle of it all is Dr. Tim Foley, who's Dean of Student Services. One of the important things that the Academy does each year in terms of recognizing sport and sport accomplishments is to promote a ballot for Athlete of the Year. The Academy has done this for the past 30 years, and we thought that we would take this last broadcast of 2014 to speak with you about the 24 nominees, because there are 12 men and 12 women in their sport categories. These people who've been selected, these athletes who've been selected, have been selected on a monthly basis. There is a ballot that is circulated internationally for people to vote on, and each month a male and a female athlete are named, and from the end of at the end of the year, all of these are compiled. Voting takes place through the 23rd of the month and of December, and the winners will be released on Christmas Day. And those of you who are interested can go vote by going to ussa.edu and look up the 2014 Athlete of the Year ballot. So there are 12 men and 12 women from a dozen different countries in sports as widely diverse as marathon, short track speed skating, tennis, golf, football internationally, so known as soccer, American football, American baseball, and boxing. And I've asked these gentlemen to be here today because each of them has a certain expertise in one of the sports. And I thought that I would start off with Dr. Steve Butler, extreme right, who is a marathoner himself, and he's going to tell us about the men and women who've been nominated for Athlete of the Year for their marathon accomplishments.
Thanks, Arthur. I think one of the key things that you said is international. If you notice from the ballot, in both the men and women, we have 5 from the U.S. and 7 from other countries. So it truly is an international ballot. And marathon is a perfect example. The 2 men we have on there, Michael Wardian, who is from Virginia, Dennis Kimeto, who is from Kenya. Dennis broke the world record in the marathon this year when he was the first one to go under 2 hours and 3 minutes. You know, several years ago when Fred Lebo, who is the president of the New York City Marathon, offered $1 million bonus to a marathoner to break 2 hours. Wow. At that time, we all thought, that's so stupid, that's never going to happen. Guess what? We're getting pretty close. And I at that time, I was one of those who said that. But now I think I probably will see somebody go under 2 hours in my lifetime. They're already running in the 56-minute range for the half marathon. The other marathoner on our ballot for the men's side is Michael Wardian, who's from Virginia, and he's really an ultra marathoner. He's been the USA Track and Field Ultra Marathoner of the Year 8 times. He's set several records. He holds the world record in the indoor marathon. Believe it or not, he ran a marathon on a 200-meter track in 2 hours and 28 minutes. Broke the previous record by over 9 minutes. There's not a lot of people who run indoor marathons. I think most people would go crazy running that many laps on a 200-meter track. But Michael did it. The reason he was selected as our Athlete of the Month in January was that he won the first ever at the Disney World Marathon. It's called the Dopey Challenge. And what that was is he ran a 5K on Thursday, a 10K on Friday, a half marathon on Saturday, and the Disney World Marathon on Sunday. And he was the overall winner of that event when you combine the times for all 4. And for those of you out there who have run marathons before, usually you rest pretty much the last 3 days before a race, and you don't run a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon in the days leading up to the marathon. So Michael's a pretty special athlete as well. On the women's side, Abeka Bekele from Ethiopia, she won the Houston Marathon in January, and that was her first ever marathon, and so it was quite an accomplishment for her. Ran an excellent time in the low 2:20s. And the other distance runner we have, although she's not really a marathoner, had quite an incredible run earlier in the year. Her name's Ginzebi Dibaba, and she's also from Ethiopia. And what she did was she broke 3 world's records in about a 2-week period. She broke the world record for 2 miles, 5,000 meters, and 1,500 meters. And she broke them by quite a bit. She broke the 1,500 meter world record by 3 seconds, which is a lot at that distance. And then she broke the 3,000 meter record by 7 seconds. And then finally she broke the 2 mile world record by 6 seconds. And she came very close to becoming the first person ever to go under 9 minutes, first woman ever to go under 9 minutes for the 2 mile record. So those are the runners.
Those are the big ones, yeah.
On the ballot this year.
Fred is quite a boxing devotee, but he also has some significant expertise internationally and with U.S. football. So, Fred, talk to us a little bit about boxing, U.S. football, and some of the international sports that are involved here.
Well, from the boxing standpoint, you couldn't have it better for the final end of the year ballot. You've got 2 of the best fighters in their weight class, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, and it's everything that all fight fans have been looking for in the boxing business, and that's those 2 going head to head. Floyd Mayweather is undefeated still. Manny Pacquiao, in his fight earlier this year, his opponent, he just controlled that fight from start to finish. He actually embarrassed a young kid. He made him look bad, and he just put on a brilliant display of what they call pure pugilism. So, I mean, he outboxed him, and it's finally coming down to it where, like I said, the 2 best are going to go head to head. They've got to work out all the details between their, the fight promoters and all this good stuff. And the simple fact of the matter is that it will definitely be one of the highest paid pay-per-view boxing venues that there is. People say now that they're really not interested in seeing those 2 go at it, but they really are behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's going to be a big purse.
Yeah, I mean, we've been
hating each other.
Yeah, for 7 years we've been asking for this fight, and it's now finally coming to fruition in that. So we finally will get to see probably one of these individuals named again next year to the ballot, because that is going to be one of the things that we are going to be following.
Yeah, Bob Arum couldn't bring these 2 guys together to face each other, but we could.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Diana Taurasi.
Well, Diana Taurasi is one of the best ball players in the WNBA, and she was very instrumental in helping to lead the Phoenix Mercury to the championship this year. And she's just been a phenomenal player since she came out of UConn, and she's in a long line of players coming from UConn in the women's program and that have excelled at the WNBA level. And she's got a couple of a few more good years left in her. I think that she's very talented, and she'll be able to once again be a leader and very instrumental in leading the charge for the Phoenix Mercury again.
Same way with Breanna Stewart.
Oh yeah,
college basketball.
Yes.
Breanna is she's leading scorer in basketball, women's basketball.
Last year she was. That's correct.
She also was the most valuable player in the national tournament for the 2nd year in a row,
right?
Both as a freshman and a sophomore. And I see UConn's back up to number 2.
Right.
After their one loss.
I was wondering why they were
they beat
so
Notre
far.
Dame.
They beat Notre Dame. They beat them badly too.
Yeah, at home, of course.
I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay too. Tell us, Fred, a little bit about Peyton Manning.
Well, Peyton Manning is
Peyton Manning.
Yep. What can you argue with? He is he holds a record for, the most touchdowns in the NFL, passing wise. He passes for, plenty of yardage each and every game. He's consistent. He's a winner. He's a leader. I mean, he played last week sick. And he had the flu, and he just came out and said, you got to step up. You got to do what you can to help your team out until you absolutely feel that you can't be a contributing factor any longer. And that's so.
That was one of the things. If you have Peyton as a fantasy quarterback, when you found out about that, you weren't too upset because he was feeling real ill.
Right.
But the numbers weren't what they usually are.
Right. Tim, you played college baseball, and you were a ball chaser for the Major League Baseball. So tell us a little bit about Clayton Kershaw, maybe a little bit about Bubba Watson in golf.
Well, Clayton Kershaw, when the pitcher wins the MVP as well as the Cy Young, it's a huge deal. That hasn't happened since Bob Gibson in 1968.
Right.
But I don't know how many times you saw Kershaw pitch and you knew the hitter was just helpless. You see a 94-mile-an-hour fastball and a changeup, and then you see an 89-mile-an-hour slider, and it's game over. But one thing I liked about him, it shows about his competitiveness. He's a decent hitter. It showed in the playoffs where he got a bad call and he looked real upset with the umpire. But just the ERA and everything, just amazing year, MVP and Cy Young winner.
Well, let's switch you over to golf. We've got Bubba Watson, everybody's kind of homeboy favorite. Rory McIlroy from Northern Ireland, and on the women's side, there's Michelle Wie and Lydia Ko.
Well, one of the things, Rory McIlroy, I believe, last year walked off the course. He said he was sick. People questioned if he quit, but I think it was great to see him mature and win some of those. And I'm a big Tiger Woods fan, but he's there. He's right there.
He matured after he broke up with his fiance. So that's when he got his game back.
I don't play much golf, but for Michelle Wie to have at a young age be so mentally tough, it's such a huge sport in Korea. They develop so young. They have such success. It's really.
I think
she's from the U.S.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think Michelle Wie is a great example of somebody who was thrust upon the national spotlight too soon.
Right.
And I think she had some good mentors, and they finally reeled her in and said, "Look, listen, you played on the men's tour when you were 14. That was a mistake. But she went to Stanford. She got a degree. She played college golf." And then when she finished at Stanford, she came back. She just won the U.S. Women's Open this year, her first major. And I think if you watch her play, like in the Solheim Cup and the women's version of the Ryder Cup, everybody said she was a great teammate. She became one of the team leaders, and I think she's really evolved. And she's been there for so long. Like I said, she played on the men's tour when she was 14 years old.
Yeah, watching her today as opposed to back then. Your point is well made. She's so much more poised, and she handles all of these extraneous things that keep coming in a professional athlete.
And we forget how young she is because she's been around so long. But she's still got a lot of great golf in front of her.
Well, Lydia Ko is very young now. She's 17 years old, and she just ran away with the LPGA this year. Right. So she has to be contended with. And when you go back to Dr. Butler, when he said that she was thrust on us at a very early age in that, but that's because the LPGA allows that.
Yeah.
I mean, they allow the young women, that have impressive golf games and that, to be amateur records, to be put in that situation. And that's what's happening. You get these kids today where they've got the mindset now and they can handle it.
Maybe for future, you're going to see future success because she had all those bumps at a young age.
Yeah.
You can. It's going to form them one way or the other. You're going to crush them or not. Well, we're not talking about Bubba Watson. Bubba Watson's from right down here in South Alabama, guys.
Man, he really has fun playing.
Pensacola.
He does. He does. He does. And where did he go to community college? He grew up in Bruton, didn't he?
He went to
He go to Faulkner State?
Faulkner State.
Went to Faulkner
Then he
State.
went to the University of Georgia, and he couldn't crack the top 5 in Georgia. And yet, there was an article that one of the guys, #1 golfer at Georgia, even though Bubba wasn't one of the best 5 golfers on the team, said even back then they knew who the most talented person on the field was. I heard a great story about Bubba. They said he cannot hit a golf ball straight. He cannot do it, no matter how hard he tries.
Tin cup.
Yeah, but like that shot he made. He won the Masters this year, which was the second green jacket. That shot he made to win it 2 years ago when he hit a 140-yard pitching wedge and hooked it about 80 yards and right next to the flag in the playoff to win the tournament. Just shows the creativity he has. And he drives what's that car called, the General Lee.
Yeah.
He actually bought the original General Lee, the Dukes of Hazzard. And I think everybody likes Bubba because it just seems like, well, for one thing, he's named Bubba, and then the other thing, it just seems like he has a good time everything he does. I think people root for him for that reason.
Steve, we've got one man and three women who are in tennis. We got Novak Djokovic for the men. We got Maria Sharapova for the women, along with Serena Williams and Petra Kvitova. And Rafael Nadal is in there too.
So 5 tennis players, 2 men and 3 women, and only one American out of the group, and she's probably the best player of the group. And that's Serena Williams. Tennis on both sides. There's basically a big 4 in tennis with Djokovic, Nadal, Roger Federer, and Andy Murray, and it seems like they're always winning the tournaments. The Federer's teammate from Switzerland, Stan Wawrinka, won one of the big tournaments this year, and then the 2 of them together just basically won the Davis Cup for Switzerland, first time they've ever won that. But tennis is truly an international sport, and as you can see, like we have 5 tennis players on the ballot. Like I said, only 1 from the U.S. I think Maria Sharapova gets a lot of attention because she came over here at a very early age to go to the what's that guy's name in Florida? The
Nick Bollettieri
tennis camp, and left her family at a very young age to come over here to just basically play tennis, and all the rest of them too. That Serena Williams, when she's right, everybody else is playing for second place.
Right. But, a distant second.
Right. She can be beat when she's not totally on her game, but when she's playing her best, and especially when she's serving her best, I think everybody else is pretty much overmatched.
Tim, we take a look at Victor Ahn, the short track speed skater from Russia. How did he do this year? I understand he set a few records.
2 gold medals and the bronze. And, one of the interesting things about the sport, when you talk about technology, that the camera is so good, you really get a chance to see how fast these individuals are going. And I think he could have been wearing an Under Armour suit and it wouldn't have made a difference. So just excellent performance all around. Amazing lower body strength.
And you've got the same thing with Park Swing-hee Swing-hai from South Korea, the woman nominee in the short track speed skating.
Where's she at?
I think one of the things about short track speed skating, I think one of the reasons why it became a popular sport very quickly here in this country was because of Anton Apollo Ono and his success early on, and he's actually still competing. He won a few medals this year. But both of these speed skaters, the Korean young lady and the Russian man who actually won medals for Korea in the previous Olympics. I'm not sure how they do that, but they both put on a magnificent performance in the Olympics, especially.
A lot of us remember Eric Heiden, and but he was not short speed. I mean, he was distance. But I just remember how huge his thighs and his hamstrings were, and he encouraged some other athletes or football players to do speed skating to build them up. And ironically, it was guys like Bo Jackson who followed him and did those kinds of things. By the way, Eric Heiden is an orthopedic surgeon now, for those of you that want to know some trivia.
Won 5 gold medals in the 1980 Olympics.
Yeah, he did. Fred, why don't you tell us a little bit about Lionel Messi and Valerie Adams? I know that's a diverse bunch because Valerie Adams set some world records with a shot put from New Zealand. And then Lionel Messi, well, everybody knows Lionel Messi from the World Cup.
Well, both of them are outstanding athletes in their respective sports, and they are recognized for their, contributions to their sports this year, as well as being leading scorers and setting records. And Valerie Adams herself is the best women's shot putter in the world, and she was selected as the IAAF Women's Track Athlete of the Year. So that's one heck of an accomplishment for her in that. The other thing is she comes from a strong family of athletes. Her brother is a backup center with the Oklahoma Thunder. So, she's got it all. She's got the total package, and she's a young lady that's willing to continue to compete and to hone her skills and still maintain, the best that she can be in the top and remain on the top in her particular sport. Lionel Messi is the same way in soccer. I mean, he is one of the best. And you're starting to see more and more because we have coverage with Fox Sports and NBC with soccer nowadays, and you just see all of the coverage that is focused and making sure that some of the greatest players in soccer, like Lionel Messi, are presented and shown. Their games are shown so the American public and the world at large can continue to see them compete. Right,
and the last one we've not spoken about yet is Katie Ledecky, U.S. swimmer. And I know that Steve has some very, very pointed comments to make.
Yeah, I wanted to back up with one thing Fred said about Valerie Adams real quickly before I talk about Katie Ledecky. I think it's very, very impressive that she was named the IAF Female Athlete of the Year because let's face it, shot put is not one of the glamour sports. The sprinters and the distance runners, 5,000, 10,000 meters usually get all the glory. But she was the only athlete, man or woman, who won all 7 events in the Diamond Series. So that's a big accomplishment. Katie Ledecky she burst on the scene in the last Olympics as a young high school swimmer who does the distance swimming events in swimming. And she set a couple world records this year and is dominating the distance part of was a backstroker lady that got all the press in the last Olympics.
Misty Franklin.
Yeah, Missy Franklin. Missy Franklin got all the Sports Illustrated covers and all that stuff. But Katie Ledecky just swam just as well and won gold medals in the Olympics. She actually was not the favorite in the final and dominated that event. And destroyed the world record and the favorite from Europe. So it's good to see the good young American talent coming along, and hopefully when people take a look at this ballot, they'll take everything into account and vote for one of these wonderful athletes.
Thank you.
Two of these wonderful athletes.
Thank you, gentlemen. This has been quite a revelation for us. I think that this is something that those of you who are watching need to take a closer look at and get involved. The United States Sports Academy and its website, ussa.edu, will have a site where you can go and vote. Again, voting takes place through December 23rd, and we would encourage you to go cast your vote. And thank you for tuning in with us for all year. And on behalf of the panel and the United States Sports Academy, we all wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and a prosperous New Year. Goodbye.
See you next year.
Next year.
Vote
today.